Well, thank you so much for joining us today. So
Absolutely.
we're going to jump right in and we'll go ahead and include your bio and all that below in the show notes. But just tell us a little bit about your story. I'm so excited to hear about, all the things that you're involved with. I'm not even quite sure where to start. You've got so many things between speaking and
I
this
do.
whole amazing network you've created with women and men in financial services, and just love to hear more. So tell us about who you are and how you got to where you are today.
Absolutely. So I did not grow up to go into financial services. That's probably not a shocker. I'll be 51 in a few weeks. And when I left school, I had all intention of going into medical school. Went into St. Louis University and was just really excited about the idea of maybe infectious disease or something that was puzzling. I really liked puzzles.
Mhm.
And I got in there and went, wow, that's a lot of homework.
Yeah,
And
that's
I'm
fair.
way too much of a social butterfly. I was like, uh-oh, we're in trouble. We're in big trouble because my dad was paid for he made a deal with me because I wanted to go to Mizzou and
Mhm.
party school. And he said, no. And he says, if you go to SLU, I'll pay for it. So he made me an offer he couldn't refuse, kind of a
Oh my
thing. So
goodness.
I did it. And I'm glad for it because it really did actually open up the door of what I didn't want to do.
Hmm.
And I don't know if sometimes people look at that as a blessing. I didn't
Hmm.
know what it was I was wanted to do, but I definitely didn't want to do that.
Hmm.
And so I packed up my car at 19 from St. Louis with $1,000 and I moved to San Francisco. And I got there and it was broke like in a second.
Yeah.
And I was like,
San
oh,
Francisco will do that to you.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
To
And
anyone.
yeah, exactly. But I got
Yeah.
there and I was so full of energy and excitement and passion for whatever the world was going to throw at me. And so I thought, well, I got to get a job. So I went into the Kinko's in Berkeley, California. I'll never forget. And the first time I've ever seen a computer in my life.
Mhm.
And I thought, well, it worked for don't tell mom the babysitter's dead to copy the resume out of the book.
Right.
If Christina Applegate can do it, I can do it. So I did. I copied everything in this thing and then I faxed it off to the wrong number.
Oh
True story.
no.
Yep. And an insurance company called me and said, I think you're looking for something different, but we're hiring. Would you like to come in?
Oh my gosh, it's meant to be.
It really was. And the gentleman who hired me is still my mentor to this day, Robert Brumby.
Uh-huh.
And that was when I was 19, just about newly 20, just going to 20.
Hmm.
And years later, I worked there for quite a while. And I asked him years later, I said, why did you hire me? Because clearly I didn't know anything. He says, you didn't. And it was beautiful because we actually had somebody who was so excited about living their life and
Hmm.
you came in every day, this breath of fresh air, and we could mold you in your mind around what it is that we did in financial services
Right.
without losing your, curiosity, your excitement, and this willingness to want to serve others.
Hmm.
What we
Hmm.
do so much in financial services, people oftentimes forget the services part of the
Hmm.
work we do. And the money's a byproduct. It's all energy anyway. It's not real.
Hmm.
It's just not real. I mean, crypto proved it's not real. And
A
so,
whole
I mean,
nother
it's,
topic, right?
yeah, yeah. But I mean, the point of it is that honestly, it was about the service that we do. And I was just really drawn to that. So I got into financial services that way. Insurance companies are a gateway drug to financial services. And it was wonderful for me. Actually, I really enjoyed it. The work. I really, to this day, will die on the mountain of everyone needs insurance and risk management's important. But then I went out to explore other things such as estate planning and much. I was often the only woman in the room.
Hmm.
So it's
Hmm.
really important to understand where many of us that are in the 50 plus market, we
Hmm.
were many times the only women standing in those rooms. Men
Hmm.
didn't know where bathrooms were for us, nor did they actually care.
Hmm.
Men didn't understand that we had children at home that we were oftentimes the main caregiver of. And much of us in that sandwich generation had an older parent we were caring for as well. So there
Hmm.
was just an inordinate amount of stress in a very oppressed way.
Hmm.
And yet you flourish. Many of us just continued to flourish. Yes, we had fallout, but many of us continued to flourish. And so 30 plus years later, about 3 or 4 years ago, I just, after doing so many different roles, decided every time I tried to join Lauren a different female centric membership or community or network, it just didn't feel like it was what I wanted. Like,
Mhm.
I don't need someone to tell me how to manage my calendar. I'm pretty good at that. Or I
Mhm.
needed real support networking. I wanted to hear what other women were doing.
Yeah.
Too many times you'd go to events too. I
Mhm.
don't really care to hire someone to come and speak. That woman who made a 7-figure income, could you put her up there on the stage? I want to know how she did that.
Right,
That
right.
was what I was super fascinated with. So I built my own.
So did you just wake up one day and you said, I want to build this network? Or was it just this kind of all these
Mm,
small seeds over the years? Was there a turning point or
I think it's
um
almost always a culmination, right? But really,
mm,
what had happened was in January of 2017, I went to speak at an event in San Antonio, Texas. And I was speaking at this point. 2016, I had like 40 conferences. It was crazy. Like every week I was on the road. But in 2017, I kind of halved that. And I went to this conference and I got up on stage, and I'll never forget. I used to ask oftentimes the event coordinators, like, how many cheeks are in the seats, just so I could plan accordingly for questions.
right.
And she said 300. And I said, okay, great. And so I walked up and onto the podium and, stand behind the lectern. And I looked out and I remember seeing just a sea of old white men. I mean, that was, and I kept thinking, how is this possible? And I stood there for a very awkward
Yeah.
amount of time. And I actually was counting how many women were in the room. Four. It was four
Mhm.
women, and they diversified them. Like there was one in 25% of the room, one in 25, like they were trying to break us up. And I thought, oh, for goodness sakes. So I got done speaking, went down, sat at, and we had them set up as like, round tables, like the little clamshells. And
Right.
I'm sitting there and with a seat with a, a group of gentlemen. And it was the gentleman after me who spoke who actually changed my life and the trajectory of what I do today. Because he got up there and he said this: San Antonio has been great, so
Uh-huh.
much shopping here, but if I don't hold my wife's hand in the store, we're going to lose our retirement plan.
Huh.
And the men laughed, and not one woman did, because I was looking, because it was not funny. I made the money in my family. I ran the finances in our family. And I thought, no more. That's not, no more jokes are coming at our expense anymore, if I have anything to do with it. So I
Yep.
felt a responsibility. So it culminated to that point. And that was when I decided I'm doing something. Now you can make a very cavalier statement and be like, I don't even know what that means, but I'll figure it out. And so that was it. That was my turning point.
Yes, it's amazing. So it wasn't just standing up on stage and then being able to look out and have that distraction, if you will, but it was also the words and
Yeah.
just the energy that was being felt there and an empowering way, right?
Yeah.
To be able to make a difference.
Yeah.
So now you've got this membership group, which is pretty impressive. And I think it's
Yeah.
several thousand that are part
We
of this group now.
we have 3,298 members.
Oh, that is crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
that is a lot. That's a lot of members. So
Yeah. In three
how the
years.
heck? I mean,
Yeah.
to be able, there must have been something that you did to be able to catch fire. Was it through your network or was it through these speaking events? How have you built this? And I mean, to be able to retain membership too, right? You've got to be able to offer significant value. So tell us about how you've built it.
Yeah. So I think that the first thing is the early days. I call it my original OG. I said it. I remember saying I'm going to get 200 women. That was some
Mhm.
random number I just pulled out of the air. It's
Yeah, yeah,
200
yeah.
members. And the beginning phone calls, and I love all those women who listened to me because they sounded like this, like, hey girl, I'm gonna do this thing. I don't
Mhm.
even know what it's gonna do,
Mhm.
but will you come along and help me? And they're like, yeah, because you do things, Sheryl. You make stuff happen. Okay, thanks.
Love that.
Hey girl, I'm gonna do this thing. I mean, seriously, I don't even know what it was. It was when you talk about startup and grassroots, like whatever's underneath that, that
Mhm.
was females in finance beginning. And you know what? I think it's a beautiful thing, because what happened was I learned everything. I learned everything from how to build a website and how to start a marketing plan and how to, do everything you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
And yeah, I still to this very day maintain our website, maintain every graphic that goes out. I do not have marketing staff. Yeah. And there's a lot of membership organizations who are smaller, like half the size of me, going, do not tell my staff, because I don't know how you do it. But
Yeah.
I'm very efficient. I am, in transparency, I've got a few awards back behind on my credentials that say I do marketing well. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
it's a matter of how do you bring passion through your dialogue, because it
Mhm.
hooks other people when they
Mhm.
like, I want to be a part of that too. I
So
can do that too.
what happened? So you started making these phone calls and then
Yeah.
people started talking, and then did you just sort of channel them into a list, or what did you do to get
Yeah.
them, yeah, how
Yeah.
did it
So you start
grow?
off, I was definitely before the whole membership wave came.
Okay, so timing
I
as well. It was right.
Yeah, that's one of the things I have to say is I do a lot of studying in other fields of marketing and what they're doing, and then I apply it to financial services. So there's some of my secret sauce. And I was seeing a lot of membership organizations popping up here and there where they were very niche
Mm-hmm.
and very extremely focused, because the more niche and focused you can be, just the easier the stickiness of
Absolutely.
the gel. So I started a Facebook group because it was free, and I thought I can go in there, and it's a way for me to start, it's an easy way to get people to invite, and women are on Facebook. I
Yeah.
mean, if you look at the trends of it, there's a lot more women on Facebook than men. And away we went. And I made that invite very clear at the beginning. Like, I'm looking for abundance minded individuals to come and do this. And I will tell you that the other thing, people are always shocked about the number of how many people we've been able to do in 3 years. That's actually not to me, the shocker.
Mhm.
We vet every member. So
Holy
every
smokes.
person who's in that is
Yeah.
a vetted, qualified financial service professional of some sort. And I am the
Wow.
gatekeeper. So you got to make it
Wow.
through me to get in. And
Okay.
then from there, we move on and move forward. And I have a requirement that everyone participate,
Mhm.
because without the participation, there are no wallflowers.
Mhm.
I want to be certain that we are all giving back to the profession. And especially as what I like to call vintage professional. I'm not calling myself seasoned and old and all that other stuff. I'm vintage. As
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
who's been doing this for 25 plus years,
Mhm.
my desire to give back and bring a young person through and help pull is
Mhm.
so strong,
Mhm.
while I also still want to make money and things like that. Of course, I
Right.
want to keep my financial energy high, but I still want to have that give back. And so I, go into a lot of organizations that look for the young people who
Yeah.
are not out prospecting, for them to surround them with support and abundance and even just love.
And when you talk about just engagement, what does that mean? Being
Yeah.
actively engaged as part of the network.
Yeah. So we've always maintained, even to this very day in 2022, 56% of our community is active every 30 days.
Wow, that is
It's
significant.
it's
You
very
look at like
significant.
Facebook groups and that sort of thing, and you've got a very small percentage that are active. So you've got to have a huge amount of people that are in those groups
Yeah.
just to sort of simulate this idea of activity. So how, yeah,
It's
how,
well, yeah, and this is it. So when people ask me, I'm a really good community builder. So you've got to ask engaging questions. You've
Mhm.
got to ask for help. You
Mhm.
need to go out and actually have dialogue around things that are timely, relative,
Yep.
calendar, trending, things of that nature.
Yep.
And you also have to tell you that it's not a love fest. People come in and present things that are sometimes, "Oh, don't ever put the insurance, the financial planner people together." Oh, they get a little gritty. But they have their way. They believe in what they're doing, and
Yeah.
they be a little bit, but it's always kind.
Mhm.
And one of the questions that someone asked me that I want to make certain I also share with you is that how many people have ever had to remove?
Hmm.
Like, there's a little bit of
Yeah.
a dicey conversation, right? And so I'm really proud of the fact it's only been three.
Okay.
And
That's,
and I'll also be transparent, because the other question is why? Why were they
yeah.
removed? Because
Yeah.
they attacked women of color, and I will not tolerate that.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Zero
That's,
tolerance policy.
wow. It's shocking, especially, and it sounds like in a public forum too. So
Yeah, I mean, we are a closed private Facebook group for that. And it kind of was built from there, is where we got the website and people can go and register and sign up. We've
yeah.
always had a free option too from day one, and we've kept that
Yep.
to this very day. So people can come and create an account, register, get
Yep.
access to Facebook and LinkedIn, the
Yeah.
groups.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Good
I'm
for
really
you
proud of
though
it.
for holding to the fire, right? And for putting your foot down, regardless of whatever's being said though, is that you're holding to those standards, which is critical, right? It takes a community to be able to do that.
It really does. Yeah. It's
Um,
even considered, it's an African proverb that says it takes a village. Okay.
mhm.
It does. It literally takes a village of people to make a community happen. And the
Yeah.
things that, here's the thing, when when going back to that question about the stickiness and why people do it. So
Yeah.
let's put it on the things that you're really good at, Lauren. I
Mhm.
may not be. I'm
Mhm.
very dependent on you to be
Mhm.
able to do your thing well and I do my thing well.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you're familiar with Glennon Doyle. She's married to Abby Wambach, but she wrote a book called Love Warrior and a few other books,
Yep.
Untamed. One
Mhm.
of the things that she said is people don't realize that there is an architecture. When something becomes a little unstable,
Mhm.
they'll introduce another piece of wood. A lot of times people think like a shim or something like that, where it comes
Right.
and it bolsters
Mhm.
that piece of wood to keep it stabilized.
Mhm.
That particular act is called sistering.
No.
You are sistering the wood so that it stays
Mhm.
strong and foundationally is there to be there for a long time. And that act of sistering is what we do at Females in Finance.
Mhm.
And that's where the word assist comes from. We are sistering and bringing in
Mhm.
women and male allies so that we can create better communities of professionals for tomorrow and for those professionals who are coming in now.
Mhm. No, that's incredible. So it sounds like recruiting hasn't been as much of a challenge, but I know you've got some big goals.
I do.
So yeah, just looking at, a little bit of what you've put out there is this advancement of 100,000 women. Is that right?
That's it.
Yeah, by, well, I'll just put it
January
out
1st
there.
of 2025.
Yes, you put it out there before I could. So how did you
Yeah.
come up with that
Oh
number?
my goodness. Well, because I have a business coach, Lauren LaForge, and she asked me what would be a number that you could do? Well,
Mhm.
I've already in 3 years done, I've got 3,000 plus members. So
Mhm.
what is a crazy number that you could put out there and you could hire, mentor, train in advance to? What would that look like if organizations, all of them came together? And I firmly believe that we could hit 100,000, even though it scares me to death. That number's like, oh my gosh. And so people have often asked me too, like, well, what if you don't? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, shucks, I only got to 53,000 women.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'd still be
Yeah.
proud of, because that's the other part of it too, is you pick these big, hairy, audacious goals, these
Right.
BHAGs,
Right.
and then the goal is to get them to even go past it.
Mhm.
Well, you know what? I want to know that even if I don't, for whatever that reason might be, and I will do my darndest to make it happen, I want to
Yeah.
be really proud of the number, because one of the things that when people ask me about our membership, and you asked me at the top of this chat, how many members do you have? And I said 3,298.
Right.
Every person counts. I don't round. I
Yeah.
don't say more than this. I
Right.
always know the number because every one of those women count in our community.
So what has it been like with COVID going on? Has that slowed
Haha.
down or increased membership or
That's a really good question, because we were already online before COVID happened. So I was totally ready again. It's like, got that one through too. And we were already meeting on Zoom calls and doing Facebook lives and things. So it was kind of business as usual to some degree.
yeah,
Now I say that, but I've got women in different communities regionally, because we've broken it out. We have 15 communities plus at Canada. We went international this year. It's our
yeah,
first one. We have a few more that are coming. Because I want to be an international financial service, professional space
yes,
for all
yes.
women. But they want to meet in person. So I was like, hey, we need to be safe,
Mhm,
But I
mhm.
got my Southern people who were just like, we love to hug each other. I'm like, I know. Calm down, calm down. But now it's pretty much everywhere's open. I live in Missouri and it's pretty
Yeah,
much everything's open at this point. So we've gone back to in person. And I think it's beautiful because they'll go to an event. Maybe they're going to the XY Planning Network,
mhm, mhm.
event, and they want to know who else is going to be there from Females About It. Can we meet up?
Yep, yep.
And that's what we facilitate for a lot of those
That's
events, even though they
fantastic.
may not know it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So for someone that has is entertaining building a community or what have you, I mean, what tips would you have too? I mean, you started to allude to it earlier, right? I mean, you talked about like asking really tough questions, putting out value through those questions, just knowing what's trending. It sounds like you're creating opportunities to connect on and offline, but like it's not an easy thing to do,
It is not. It is
So
not. No, it's
yeah,
not.
talk to me more about that community aspect because I think that is my hunch is that's probably really critical KPI, if you will, as
Yeah.
you're reaching to
Yep.
that goal. So
Yeah. And I have to tell you, I'm so glad you asked that question in particular, because I think people sit back and they think, oh, I could do this too. Well,
mhm,
you might. You very well might, but I'm going to tell you, you have to wake up every single day,
Hmm.
whether it's vacation, you're an event, it doesn't matter what it is. You
Hmm.
are responsible as the leader of an organization, especially as big as mine, to
Hmm.
every single day bring it. You have to be excited. You have to believe in your mission. You have to be passionate, and you got to be there and be thinking about what that looks like and changing and like an amoeba flowing through with. And some people are so rigid, and that's not going to work. So your rigidity is going to work against you. You got to have flex and flow.
Yep.
You have to so many different opinions when you have 33, 100 people, you
Yeah.
have 3,300 different opinions on things. So you're
Hmm.
trying to crowdsource what that looks like, making certain that you are honoring what the ask was. It
Hmm.
takes a lot. So I tell people, when I look back at the time when I very cavalierly said I was going to do this, I am proud of the fact of what I've built, but I have the tenacity to make it happen. I get up every day this excited
Hmm.
every single day to do this work. I don't know if I would be this excited about some other community or something. I'd be like, nah, I don't know. So you really
Yeah.
got to look at yourself and say, am I ready to take this on and do this well and
Hmm.
not just, plunk a bunch of people into a membership, community like
Right.
Circle or Member Vault or whatever else.
Right.
And
Right.
you really have to see them as the humans that they are too,
Yep.
flawed and all, and
Hmm.
still love it every day.
So are you, because like you said, you could plop a group of people into
Yeah.
this, but like just to get a little bit more tactical, are you sparking questions
Oh
daily? Are
yeah.
you actually policing the forum?
Oh yeah.
Are you creating, questions where
Yep.
people can vote and
Yep.
articles? Like what?
Yep.
Sometimes other thing is, you can throw stuff out there and it can be radio silence. So like, how are you
Mhm.
encouraging that?
Yeah, so I think part of it is that to all those are really good content ideas to sort of you're trying to spawn some some dialogue and stuff. We do a lot of times where we have like a let's discuss post where something got published, and are we really okay with this? Do we like this? Was this a good idea? And what I usually do is I remember, because I interview every person.
Right.
I have a very systematized and very intricate CRM system. So I can actually search in my CRM for people who specialize in those dialogues,
Hmm.
tag them and pull them in, and then they start the conversation flowing. And
Oh,
oftentimes
interesting.
they will
Yeah.
then, yeah. So that's another thing too, for those of you who might be listening, thinking, I'm going to start my own membership, or they might have one. If you're not keeping, copious notes on your members on
Yeah.
what they talk about, you're missing out on an enormous opportunity to pull them into to conversations that will help keep your engagement high.
Yeah, these are real relationships. So, is it a HubSpot CRM or you have to ask? What?
Yeah, so I use ClickUp. Everybody knows I'm a ClickUp nut. I use
Okay.
ClickUp for everything.
Oh
So
my
our
goodness.
accounting, our
Yeah.
CRM, our project management, our document center. I am a, a ClickUp warrior.
No, well, once you've got a tool you love, it's good to
Yeah,
maximize.
but it
I
took a
can,
lot. I mean, it takes time to build it the way you want it.
right.
I felt like we tried HubSpot for a while, and I was like, that didn't work. I
Yeah.
didn't like it. I
Yeah.
tried Zoho. I tried all of them. And
Yeah.
for me, I literally spend my entire day in my females in finance ClickUp space,
Yeah.
from managing all of that. And I built it the way it made sense for me. So if
Yeah.
somebody calls me now, just to give you an example, the CLTC is one of our sponsors. They
Hmm.
can call and say, how many people are in your group of the CLTC? And I can literally search it and boop, come back and be like, I
Got
have
it.
82.
Yep.
That's meaningful to them,
That is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where I say
Tag it and
copious,
sort it. And yep.
yes,
It
it's
must
just
have a good search
very
platform
intricate.
too.
Yeah.
I want to talk about sponsorship in a minute here too, but
Mhm.
I'd love to talk a little bit about the tiers. I know you got these membership tiers too.
Yeah.
Does everyone have access to this forum, or tell me a little bit about
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
tiers and how you set that up and kind of why you went that route?
Yeah, so part of it is because I felt that there was a barrier to entry from a financial capacity for young people who are new,
Hmm.
coming into the profession. So we always started off with a basic tier, which is a free membership. They
Hmm.
register on the site, they get access to the Facebook group and our LinkedIn group. We actually have a Slack board that's pretty active as well,
Oh.
for the people who are like, because you know who they are. I don't like Facebook. Everybody has a Facebook, and they're all liars if they say
Yeah.
they don't. But I mean, teach their own. If they don't like it, we have backup for things. everything, so they can still participate in dialogue. But the basic tier has always been there. When they wanted something more, we moved into a community plus, and
Mhm.
community plus just means plus everything else. They get
Mhm.
access to marketing classes, some
Mm.
specialized networking, some
Yeah.
writing and speaking opportunities that we get. Very My community plus members are so much fun. We keep it very low cost because we offset it from our sponsors who came
I
in.
see.
That's the only way we're able to do that. So our cost right now in 2022 is $9 a month.
Oh my gosh,
I
so affordable. Yeah.
Very, very affordable. And
Yeah.
then what we do is we work with some of the college students and really discount that down even more
Mhm.
for them.
Mhm.
So, and I have to tell you, one of the best things that's happened is we have members who have been there since my OG, my original gang that's been
Yeah.
in there. A
Yeah.
lot of them actually sponsor anonymously young people that are
Oh my
coming in where
gosh.
they're paying for their community plus and giving it away.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, it's
I
really beautiful.
and just in hearing you talk to, I think one of the things that I really appreciate, just hearing you how you've built this, is that it sounds like you've got your ear to the ground. You're really listening to what people need. If they don't like Facebook, they go to Slack. We've got a plus. We're doing this. We're doing that. And so you can feel just that you're in it the way that you're talking about
Mhm.
it. And my hunch is too that that's probably been why it's grown the way that it has, is because you're hearing people. So you've got your finger
Mhm.
on the pulse.
I
And then
try.
tell us. Go ahead.
No, I said I really try. We
Yeah.
broke out into we started adding mastermind. We did the first one
Mhm.
this year to see how it did. Oh, it
Mhm.
was amazing. So we're going to be adding more mastermind classes and groups to
That's
our membership as
fantastic.
well. Yeah.
So then tell me a little bit about sponsorship or partnerships. And that's been a big
Yeah.
part of the success too. And yeah, would love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so when we got to be about 1,800 members, I realized that I couldn't do all of the educational pieces to it.
Hmm.
And at the same time, we found that there were companies out there that do a great job,
Hmm.
but our members would want to talk about them in our group, but they weren't in the group. And I
Hmm.
was like, okay, hold on a second. We got to rethink this. And at the time, I was, a startup, and I actually funded 100% my own dollars on
Hmm.
building this company. I took no outside investments. It was just me. And well, and if my husband were here, he'd say, me too.
Yes.
Okay, Daryl, you too.
Yes.
But that was very intentional as well, because I wanted to
Yeah.
see if I could make it. A lot of times what happens, and I see this in membership organizations, oftentimes they'll go out and start getting sponsors before they even have their community built. And that
Mhm.
is a really backwards way of going about doing it, because you got to have a proof of concept's got to be solidified. And I think it's really interesting that people think that women are a niche. And I'm like, no, there's no niche. It's
Mhm.
just us, because
Mhm.
without us, there is no other human on the planet.
Yeah.
We're pretty important.
Yep.
So I would say that we're the only ones that matter. Sorry,
Mhm.
guys, but it's true. But it's one of those things where when we opened the sponsorship, it allowed them an ability to have a very focused eye in on how do we fix things, or how do we offer things, or how do we change products. A good
Mhm.
example was we had one of our sponsors that had a technical flaw in their
Mhm.
software. One of the women knew about it and had mentioned it several times, came into our group to complain about it, which was okay. We don't,
Mhm.
like I said, we're not going to love fest on everybody all the
Right,
time,
right.
but we made a courtesy call to that sponsor to say, I know this is going to come down, and I want you to be prepared so that you have an answer versus just getting caught off guard.
Yep,
And
yep.
then they were able to bump that to the top of their queue, fix the problems in a matter of 10 or 12 days, and then come back and then say to that person, I hear you, thank you. And
Oh,
then
that's
and
great.
present the problem. So guess what? We had a win for the sponsor, a
Yep,
win for females in finance, because we gave them a place to commune and to communicate, and a
yep,
win for the advisor and their client, so
yep.
that they could continue to do the work that they needed done. So I just think that those and that literally, because of it, it was besides the fact that it was wonderful, but more importantly, their sponsorship dollars allows us to keep our costs low, so we can invite those women in. Remember, they're all vetted, so not everybody's making the cut, but
Yep.
they're there to have meaningful intentional dialogue around how to be better stewards of financial services as a profession. And I think that's how you do it, not go slam them on Twitter because
Yep.
they did a stinky job on something. That's
Yep.
not fair.
Yeah, and this is a forum
You
where
know,
you can talk and
exactly.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, one last question before we
Yeah.
wrap up here. But as you look ahead, any big challenges that you see as you're navigating this BHAG? So,
Yeah. So I think that the first thing that we're doing and putting in place is they'll be seeing some updates on our site where we're going to be measuring and asking people how to measure, because that is number one. Like, how do you get there? Well,
mhm,
that's a good question, but I already have some ideas, of course, on how to measure out our fearless pledge, is what we call it, taking the fearless pledge, empowering the pledge of hiring, mentoring, training, advancing 100,000 women by January 1st of 2025. And I think that beyond that, some of the other things that I see that we really need to get a better handle and on is the fact that I love to see what other people like Sonia Dreisler Choir are doing, and a few others. But I think that if we're not openly dialoguing around why there are not enough women, people of color speaking, but it's even more than that. Neurodiverse, candidates, Andrew Comero at Planning Across the Spectrum. I
mhm,
think that we really need to start looking at each of these areas, and we have to stress the muscle inside of us to say, are we actually doing the best by our profession, or best by our conference, or the best by our presentation, or whatever it might be, or their podcast even?
mhm,
Are we showcasing not just the best of the best, but sometimes it's the voice of the people that they don't get to hear as often.
mhm,
You know what I mean?
absolutely,
And I
absolutely.
think that there's a lot of times where I love nothing more than actually going to conferences. Sure, I'd like to speak, but I actually like going and participating and listening to others, and putting people whose voices may be just not as loud and
Mhm,
pushing them up to the front, saying, you're going to go up there and speak. We do something at Females in Finance called the Tuesday Topic. And every Tuesday we feature a professional in our group, and they get to talk on for 30 minutes about a particular item. That
mm,
has done so much for people speaking, because
I
they're like,
bet.
I didn't know that they did this. I
Yeah.
said, no, because we have too many people who are glittering gold. We
Uh-huh.
got some awesome bronze and silver people. We got to bring those people through.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to do, is kind of give them that hoist to push them into those spaces
That's
as best as I
fantastic.
can. And I
Yeah.
think that's what some of these other organizations that are coming up are doing. So I think the more we're focused there, the more change, positive change we're going to see in financial services, because I love the profession of what it is that we do. And the only thing we do, I tell everybody, is this: when our clients come to us and say, am I going to be okay?
Mhm,
It is our responsibility to have an answer to that.
mhm,
And
mhm.
that's a really big question and
Yep,
broad. And it
yep,
takes a lot of professionals to make certain that we are able to say to them, we got you. You're going to be all
yep,
right.
yep. You've got that community, that tribe, right?
Yeah.
So, oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit more behind the
Yeah.
scenes, and
Pleasure.
congratulations to all the success. I mean, you'll be cheering, and it's going to be fun to keep watching it all grow. So
Yeah.
appreciate all you're doing in the industry as well.
Oh, I'm really grateful for this opportunity to talk about this, and the women and the male allies. They're really important to us. And anything we can do to support, you and others in this profession, please let us know. We're
Oh,
there.
absolutely. Well, thank you again for your time today.
Of course.